Hello, I'm Blue, and welcome to this new TCB venture, the Cosmic Being Podcast. I am delighted that you're here to join us. The podcast is about alternative approaches to help you make informed choices from a range of scientific and alternative data and principles to help you actualize your potential, whether that's through self-help, through the resources on the TCB membership, through psychotherapy, from having an understanding of that broader view of how this realm works, or even how your body actually works, and ultimately how to sustain healthy, happy experiences that will nourish your mind, body, and soul. On the Cosmic Being Podcast, we aim to help you activate your curiosity, find helpful healing solutions, and connect you to your highest potential and your highest truth. We will be speaking to people about the bioelectric body, the bioterrain of the realm, how the cosmos impacts upon our well-being, healthy mind approaches, heart coherence, grounding, and relaxation and breathing techniques. We'll cover all sorts of topics, but also the main ones to help people deal with anxiety, depression, isolation, the type of things that can bog us down and keep us from reaching our full potential. All of this in an effort to bring small steps that help you quickly see success. I'm so excited for you to come on this journey with me. Today we're diving into Cosmo-planning with Ester from the Cosmo-planner and finding out how this planner can help you tune into the cycles of the cosmos and your own energetic cycles to make the projects you're working on really successful. If you join the TCB membership before the 14th of February, when the whole site goes through a big launch, you'll be added into the free prize draw for a 2025 Cosmo Planner. All you need to do is to join the TCB community. That's £20 for the year, and that gives you access to lots of downloadable PDF resources to help you along the way, downloadable audio such as meditations, grounding techniques, calming techniques, and a whole lot more. So Esther, talking about the Cosmo Planner, is our first guest. I'm very excited to go on this beginning journey with her. It seems quite fitting that we're starting on our journey of enlightenment and alignment with a planning and magical resource such as the Cosmo Planner. So without further ado, let's open our hearts and our minds and dive right in to the first Cosmic Being Podcast. Good rising, Esther. It's beautiful to see you today.
Likewise, very nice to be here with you.
Thank you. Yes, you're joining the Cosmic Being on its very first attempt at a podcast to go out to the people. So yeah, I'm hyped and excited. I'm not a technophobe, but I'm not a complete techie either. So we'll just take any glitches as we go along and enjoy the ride and the conversation. And I'm very, very excited to introduce you and your Cosmo Planner in more detail. Certainly, let's pretend that I have an audience, but certainly to the people I work with as well, because I'm always advocating various different arms of organisation, but particularly the Cosmo Planner, because of that rhythm that it gives people. And I find that it also really helps even the most skeptical individuals start to question the bigger things and find their sense of spirituality, or at least belonging, in the way the flow of life happens. So God bless you for creating such a beautiful resource.
Thank you so much. I feel very touched for what you said, because that is exactly it. That's how, one thing is planning and the other thing is planning connected to something else that it actually connects to who we are, that we are nature and that we go by cycles, we go by rhythms. And to me, that was the thing that made me kind of, when I discovered that I could plan and also be in flow, I was like,
yeah. And also
so thank you.
Stops our flow sometimes as well. the thing that really drove my partner and I to start using the planner was we have each other's opposite signs in our suns and moons. So I'm Libra with Sag moon, and she's Sag with Libra moon. And we kept having these experiences around new moon where it was like we suddenly had changed, like, and it wasn't until we started to work with the flow of the moon and understand, this is when we're at our lowest, waning, preparing for the new burst of energy. This is when we should be digging deep and bringing all our best selves, and actually we're like, go away, I just want to be me and be myself and have a blanket and not be part of something today. So it was amazing, the insight that it brought to what was going on between us. Most of the time we have a wonderfully stable, very bright and powerful relationship, but just this, and it was always new moon, and we'd be like, what is that? So it's fascinating.
It's fascinating because it also, of course, the moon as well as the feminine cycle, it affects the hormone. So when there is a new moon, the estrogen hormones are lower, and also that has an effect on this hormone that wants to make you feel connected.
Yeah.
So it is that the new moon is like, it's kind of like how you feel when you have your period, that you just want to be on your own cocoon, and even if you have a lot of ideas, you don't really find yourself with a drive to actually do them. There is a sense of isolation that you kind of feel like tapping into because you it's like you need that stillness, So it's very fascinating to hear that you've managed to feel that and to kind of tune into that and understand it. And it's not random. It happens every month.
Yeah.
It's that, yes.
Yeah. And now we've kind of learned how to work with it. We're both very much, it's new moon, and we'll put more effort in to connect over the intentions, setting tasks for ourselves, doing something ritualistic, meditative, but never romantic or expecting each other to, pull more weight or, God forbid, go and visit family. And, it's just like, no. Let's just bring our best insular selves to planning with the moon.
How does your cycle relate to the moon? When are you both bleeding at the same time, or how are you bleeding?
We're quite over that. We haven't done the whole synchronizing thing.
Okay.
My partner has a lot of masculinity within them. They don't necessarily identify as gender fluid or anything like that, but they have a very I quite joke sometimes and call them sort of Adonis, like angelic look about them, that they get red for boy and girl all the time, regardless of what they're wearing. And I think that I have my tomboyish elements as well, but we've never really done that girly or total feminine sync up.
Okay, interesting.
I'm referring to my planner to find out our cycles. So the year view is where we would clock things like that for ourselves, so that we could see really easily if it was early, late, going off track. So my partner falls just around about when the moon is at that halfway point, and I'm usually just after new moon.
After new moon. Interesting. Because it's interesting as well, what your body is asking of you, depending how your bleeding time is in relation to the moon.
Okay.
That's in a sense. Shall I continue with that? Or
please, yeah.
Yes. Because when you are bleeding around the new moon, when you're bleeding between the new moon and the full moon, it's like transitional period. So normally it happens when you are in a transition between one state and another. When you're bleeding around the new moon, what happens is that, you bleed, so you are the lowest when the moon is the lowest, And you are more fertile and ovulating when the moon is more fertile and ovulating. It's like full. And that normally it happens when you need to focus your energy inward.
Okay.
You need to replenish and restore yourself. Because the opposite is when you bleed during the full moon, but you ovulate during the new moon. And when you ovulate during the full moon, when you menstruate or when you bleed during the full moon, what happens is called kind of a creative cycle, and the energy is more outward because you can't really ever fully rest.
Yeah.
When you are at the lowest, the moon is like, let's go, so you feel that drive to kind of want to do things. Even your body is like, oh, can we just stay in bed? And when the moon is like at lowest, you are kind of like, yes, you know what I mean? You feel like ovulating, you're full, you have a lot of energy, there's a lot of things that you want to do. So you have, it's these like ongoing, and that normally your body goes into that cycle. If it needs to support you, for example, if you are starting like a new project, a new business, or things like that you require that ongoing energy, your body will transition into that kind of cycle. And when it's time for you to rest, like you've done enough, now you need to start retrieving and regenerating, then your body starts transitioning into the other way. And it's really fascinating how...
So kind of say then that, obviously all of this is when you're not on any hormone or birth control. Yeah. But so it's likely then that your cycle will adapt depending on your own
what you need.
Tensions, productivity, and dare I say stress levels.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So in a way to try and enhance what you need to get done.
Yes, I mean, because our bodies will always try to live up to what tasks we give them.
Yes, yeah.
If you force your body will like, all right, let's go, But up to a certain point, that is a great thing because you can, really push forward for things that you need to do. But it is also a bad thing because you can push your body to a point where your body goes like, I had enough now, like stop it now. You know what I mean? Like, and now, I've given you all I had. Yeah. You're pushing me. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm still organic. I'm not a robot. I'm not a machine.
Exactly. Yeah, I can relate, having come from corporate world where so much of my own validation was related to productivity, and then hitting that burnout and being very surprised how long it took me to recover from that. I thought, I'll just have a week off, I'll be fine. No. And having the mental space really to put in, okay, I have to take every Sunday off. That's going to have to be immovable. That's my new religion, is Sundays off. And I remember how difficult the first few were. I would be sat there sort of, and people would come in and I would be sat with the remote, with the screen on, like a smart television filing system thing. What are you doing? I'm like, I'm reorganizing all the movies into alphabetical order. They're like, you're still being busy, I had to train myself what it meant to actually relax and switch off and calm and chill out. But now that space at the end of the week is like light at the end of the tunnel. I can get through days on a couple of hours sleep. I can push energy. I can find all the hype and motivation because I know Sunday I have a day for me. So it's really helped me create that flow, even though it can sometimes be like 6 days on, 1 day off, 6 days on, 1 day off. But my flow is a bit of a peak. And my cycle adapted with that as well. And my cycle would always come when I was off or on holiday, or all the times when I would say, I haven't got time for that, then the cycle would be like, boom, yes, you have. So I completely relate to what you're saying in that it works with the tasks you set, but to a point.
To a point.
Yeah.
To a point. I mean, it's our body is not a machine. It needs to rest, but also, not just, I mean, as sleeping, related with mental health and, is how you recover. But there is also a need for stillness, because there is, being busy does not mean doing a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can be very busy, but doesn't mean that you're actually doing a lot. And to sometimes to do a lot, you need to that stillness to know, okay, so how am I exactly going to do this?
And it's that planning thing, isn't it? It's surprising how often people go into something really important. Nothing's written down. It's all in the head. And then they wonder why, there's hiccups or there's stickiness, even when you're coming from a place of love and passion. I can't tell you the amount of people I've seen that have said about speaking at weddings, oh, it's fine. I know what I'm going to say. I love this person. I've got all the jokes. We tell stories all the time. And on the day, because the environment is different, there's the pressure, and you think, gosh, you only needed to just write a few bullets, you'd have been fine, you'd have been amazing, So there's a real virtue in just giving yourself that love of, I'm going to just plan a little bit here, get it out of my limbo, short-term memory, and into something substantial. And then, that's just post-it noting, but then you've got something as fabulous as this Cosmo-planner that really sets it out and it shows you, your preparation time is that inward downtime. Then you have your doing time, but also you have that reflection. And again, for me in therapy, I'm always working with people to say, you have to stop and complete the loop. If you've been pushing and planning and being productive and telling yourself this is going to be amazing, I have to get this done, then you have to close the loop when you've done it and sit and revel in the glory, pause for glory, I call it, and say to yourself, wow, I did it. It doesn't matter whether you succeeded. You just have to say, wow, I did it. I actually completed that. Go me.
Yeah, totally.
Moon absolutely has that cycle as well, which I love. Do you feel it when you're going against it?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I try to outsmart it. And it just never works. And even if I don't honor the end of the cycle, I try to slow down, because sometimes I'm like, no, but I have to finish it. And I push myself. I find that the following cycle is so hard for me to it becomes, starting new things becomes much, much harder because I haven't given myself the resting time, the letting go time, so I feel like I know it because I have been there, where it's a continuous thing, that you keep going and going and going rather than, as I said, finishing, resting, letting it go and start again.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can see it now. Yeah. And that just doesn't work.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, because I think I've not really appreciated that in the past when I have thought, oh, I'll just push on, and then wondered why I've had a sludgy month or a sludgy beginning to the month. And that makes absolute sense then. What you're saying is that you've kind of took some of the still going energy in because you've not done the completion and the rest and reflect.
Exactly. And it's interesting how, because as you said, the, about the preparation, it's like, we think that because you can think of something, you can just do it. Right? I mean, I think, I'm going to just do this, and then you start, it's like, oh no, but I need to do that. Oh, and before I do that, I need to do that. And before I do that, and then you end up like, oh, it was not just do this. It's like 10 things, that I needed to do before the one thing I wanted to do, But if you don't think about the preparation thing, it's like, and it's kind of nice to think in terms of like the seasons. I mean, the moon cycle is the season, that before you have a full flower, you have to put the seed in the ground. You have to water it, you have to wait, has to have, has to be nutrients, blah, 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 and then you need the first sprout, and then the sprout needs to kind of grow into something else, and then you need the leaves, and then you need this and that and that. And when it has all of this, finally, flower appears.
yeah, absolutely. And the seed and the growth and the patience for waiting for that is such a great analogy for doing new things, because there's also that moment when you've planted the seed. So you can also relate that to when you've planted that seed of thought, and you're going to do something new, and you're planning what are the stages. But there is a moment when that seed goes through utter destruction of what it was, to break through that shell, and when you look at that in slow motion, it looks like you're destroying everything about it. And sometimes we have to turn the page to be able to turn over a new leaf, or we have to shake off the old thing to be able to do a new thing. And then it grows, like you were saying, and you water it, and you tender towards it, and you nurture it. But there is that sort of within the new, the old has to go.
Absolutely. And I love how you describe that image that is like a destruction of something. I can't remember who said that, but I said every act of creation is an act of destruction.
Yes.
Because something needs to be destroyed for something new to be created. But it's also interesting how it is so violent, because that first action, that first step requires so much energy.
Yeah.
It requires so much breaking through the resistance. In a flower, in a seed, you see it clear. I mean, you see the thing, opening up. There is so much mental resistance or emotional resistance. You have to break to take that very first, very, very first step. It's kind of, I have this trick, when it comes to like habits. Sometimes when I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I do it the first day, and I'm so good at keeping that. And what I tend to say to myself is, even if I think about it and I decide not to do it, I consider it done.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Because if I just forget about it and I pretend, then it's almost like I go back to that place where I have to break through the first step again. But if I consciously make the choice that today I'm not going to do this, whatever it is, it's a conscious decision that then it's like I don't have to break through the barrier again, because it's like I consider it done, like not done, but done, because I thought about it and I made the decision. And then the next day, okay, today I do it, but you're still keeping the wheel turning,
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, that really fits with the sort of the approach that we take with manifesting and future basing as well, because you're bringing the reality into the here and now. So we think about what we want as it's done. We're not planning steps. We're not looking at what the problems are going to be and the barriers and the challenges. We're going straight to that outcome of, if someone wants a new house, seeing yourself in that house, seeing yourself shutting the door the day you've moved in, feeling the feeling of that success. And to quote Neville Goddard, living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. But then when you've done the contemplation and the manifesting and the thinking, you have to take that key step. And like you're saying, that step might just be, okay, I'll go and look at houses, or I'll ask someone about a loan, or decide which area. But it's the step. You have committed energy to that process, that plan, that intention. So yeah, I love that, because you're also doing it your way. I've done it, and which is bringing it into the here and now. It's not, I've still got to do it. It is done. Powerful. Yeah. Love that, Esther.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about where the Cosmo-planner came from for you, because it's just so beautiful, and just a work of art as well as a really helpful resource. And I have to tell everybody, I've never picked up a planner that's had so much supporting information in it. The very first one, when we got it, we were still living in our little off-grid paradise in Portugal, and this was our daily treat to sit and read a couple of pages to the planner to each other by candlelight before it got too dark, you know. Because the level of information that you have shared in here is just incredible. Not just with regards to about the moon and its phases and what you should be doing with your energy, but the tips on food and the tips on how it might affect your birth sign, and then the information about Mercury. It's just so impressive how you've laid it out. So tell me how you got.
Thank you. Well, you want the short version or the long version?
Give me your favorite version, and if it's really long, we can edit it.
Okay. Well, I mean, it came. I created it out of a necessity.
Yeah.
With my own. I needed that because I was working. As a creative, I was I'm working as a photographer. So I was being a creative, and I didn't have a job as in like someone that tells me okay, you have to be at the office at the time. So I was completely, my time was mine, 100%, which is a blessing, but can also be a curse. And of course, when you work as a creative and by yourself, it's not just a job; it's your life.
Yeah.
So I found myself really, really burned out, and I was, at the same time as I was working, and I was using planners that they were, telling me, helping me to be productive. On the other hand, I had also been always very much into magic, crystals, alternative stuff, but also food, because as a teenager, I struggled. I had my struggles with mental health as well. So I do know the importance of holistic self-care and taking care of yourself. And so I almost had like these two sides of myself that they couldn't really, one was like being all like, growing spiritually and, having all this stuff. And on the other hand, I was trying to be all productive and, efficient and blah, blah, blah. And it was completely like, these two sides of myself. And then I remember one day, as I was learning more about how the moon influences you and how, the woman cycle or the feminine cycle, I call it feminine cycle, influences your energy, your productive energy and your creativity and everything. As I started to learn all this, one day it just dawned on me that we live so disconnected from nature. And it was like, and the thing is that when we talk about nature, people think, oh yeah, I'm going to the forest, I'm going to the park. But I was like, no, nature, this is nature.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You want to connect to nature, connect to your body, connect to yourself. This is nature. Mm-hmm. We are nature, you don't, I love going to the forest. I love my trees, I love all this. But ultimately, our body, who we are nature. We are, we mirror the way nature works.
Absolutely.
So I was kind of like, what am I doing? What am I doing? So I decided that I needed to bring kind of those two parts together and to work, of course, because I am a creative person. So I love doing things and I always have 1,000 of ideas, but I had to do it in a way that it was connected to, to who I was, to my nature. So I started to, because it was almost like I was always on the go. And I had no rhythm. I had no, it was always like, this and this and this and this and next and next and next. And I couldn't, it's like I wanted to grow personally, but I didn't know how to do it. And it was just a constant stream of things to do, of one thing I wanted to do, never ending, never getting there, never arriving, never celebrating, it was this constant. So I just thought I need a planner that brings all these things in, and I need to do it in a way that it is connected. And also, of course, I was into astrology and I was studying astrology, and I realized that the 12 seasons, throughout the year, they give you such a beautiful rhythm where every month you can tap into something different. So you don't have to feel overwhelmed, because growth or, bettering your mental health or bettering your well-being is not a linear A to B. That's it. I'm there. Done. You know what I mean? Like I never have to. You know what I mean? Like it's not like that. You know, it is a process. You know. So how do you? You know, but of course, you know, how do you navigate everything? You know, when you also want to have your creative ideas and you want to also do your things. So I just created a planner that will guide you into those things that connects you to nature. And of course, food is, again, you know, it's like, it's great that we can have food at all time of the year, but it was amazing when I started to eat by the seasons, you know, a little bit more, because I started to notice as well that the food that was in season was also cheaper because there is more abundance of it, you know, and it tasted better, you know. So, and it was like, the more I started to connect to that, you know, my own nature. And of course, food is one of the, I love food. I mean, I'm a Cancerian, so I love food. You know, I've got to cook, you know, but also, but not just that, but, you know, but food is what, you know, gives us energy. It, you know, works with the body, and there's a lot to it. And it's a basis without putting in the right kind of energy, in the right kind of food, and in the right kind of way. You are trying to build houses in shaky ground, basically, you know. So that's why I also put it there. And then I try to make it as beautiful as I could, because, you know, I'm a Libra ascendant, you know, so of course things that, you know, are pleasant.
Aesthetics is important.
It's important, you know, it's like, to me, it's about combining the feminine and the masculine as energies, you know, like as a kind of, you know, it's great that it's a container and it's a structure, but it has to appeal to the senses, and it has to, you know, to feel nice, you know, that something that you know, that it feels a treasure, and that it helps you, you know, it has everything, you know.
Well, you did a great job, because it's absolutely
thank you.
I thought I'd wear my little gold top in honor of the Cosmo-planner today. And, you know, if I'm honest, there was a little bit of inspiration from looking at the Cosmo-planner, looking at your site that supports that, when I rebuilt my own website. And I just knew, I was like, no, I want that high resonating, going for gold, kind of look and feel across it. And that now has become a kind of visual cue for me. You know, when I meet people, if they've got something like a gold cosmic piece of jewelry, or when I look at their site and there is anything gold in that, I'm like, yes, kindred spirits, let's connect. So I'm driven by colour.
I have to show you my ring. It's black and gold.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So I loved as well what you were saying about being on the go and never arriving. And I just thought, I love that. That's a fantastic way of putting it, with that societal norm of everybody is sort of been pushed into this system to work a certain way, work certain numbers, but also that productivity. You know, it's almost like we're starting to, in the societal structure, really value, you know, how much did you get done? How much do you get paid? How many days and hours do you work? Rather than, how are you inside?
Absolutely.
I love that phrase, you know, never arriving. And I think that for people that love to plan and have a busy life, this planner is amazing. But I've also seen it really work for people that are in that situation you're describing, but without the busyness, you know, that don't have the structure. Perhaps their employment situation or their neurodiversity means that they're not in a 9-to-5 structure. So how they then struggle to create it for themselves. And working with people with this planner to say, well, you know, what about following some of the flow within the cosmos has just been amazing. To give people that, you know, you can look at it for the whole month, or you could even look at the Mercury cycle and go for a few months.
Definitely, because I think that creative people, and I think a lot of neurodivergent people are very creative. You know, it can become overwhelming not having that structure. I mean, before I started having planners, I did not have plans, and I still remember the day that I decided maybe I need a planner, when I actually went into a job without my camera.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
Oops.
never mind that you can take amazing pictures, but you need the camera.
Oh dear. And I mean, one of my most ridiculous memories about using a diary, so not anything that worked with my energetic flow or anything that helped me track that, but just simply a diary. You're only as good as the information in it, right? And I opened it up one day. I was rushing. I needed to know what I had in the day ahead. I was sat on my stairs at home, and the note that was written in my diary said, "Meeting here." Well, that's really helpful. Where was I when I wrote that? And I knew what time it was. I didn't know where it was, what it was, so I thought, no, I need to get just a little bit better at what I'm putting into this.
Yes.
One of the elements I loved reading about and talking to my partner about was this void of course. That was brand new information for us. We did not know about void of course. So could you just explain that a little so that those listening understand what I'm rabbiting on about and how we can use it?
Well, basically, the void of course moon, as it's known, is at the time, can be just a few minutes or few hours. I'm just going to first say the definition, and then I'm going to explain it, what it means. It's a time between the moon making the last aspect at the end of her journey through a sign before it moves on to a next sign. And this is basically a time that is known as like running into the void, because the moon doesn't have any, as the moon travels through the signs, she makes aspects, which means connects to different planets, and that gives like a bit of a grounding or a bit of a thing happening. So, at one point, the moon makes the last aspect, and then after that, there is nothing until she moves to the next sign.
Okay.
So I like to see it as when you're reading a book, and you're reading a chapter, and you come to the end of the chapter. Normally, there is a blank space, right, between the new start. And in that blank space, nothing really happens. The story is already been written. Whatever was meant to happen is already happened. And that's just that buffer before the new chapter starts. This is kind of where the void, of course, moon is. And basically, how it feels and why it's not recommended to start anything at that time or to make any important decisions is because it's almost like emotionally we have nothing to bounce off.
Mm-hmm.
So it can feel extremely like sometimes like nothing goes right, nothing seems right. Because it's almost like we have the moon or our emotions don't have anything to bounce off. So they're not very grounded. So you might have this really kind of great idea, but it's completely unpractical, or you might even try to do things aren't happening.
Yeah.
So, and you can follow it or not follow it, but if you are someone who struggles to is always on the go, for me it's been a blessing because void of course, perfect. I don't have to do anything. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm not missing out on anything, because even if I try, you know what I mean? It's going to be a waste of time. Perfect. You know what I mean? It's like, so then it's like, okay, I'm going to clean the house then, or whatever, you know what I mean? Or I just go for a walk, or I just, it's a completely guilt-free time off that I have. So, it's to me, it was in my advantage to follow it.
Yeah.
Even if it's just because of that. And it just worked great. But I mean, I've had so many people that when started using the word, noticing the word, of course, it's like, then I don't know if it has happened to you that you have a day where nothing goes right and you check, void, of course.
Yes.
Exactly that. It has happened to you as well.
When we're being really fastidious about the planner and using it week to week, we purposely, when we know we're going to sit down together and create something or make plans, we will make sure that we're not doing it on a void of course. So sometimes we're aware, and we'll have it in the back of our head, and that week we'll maybe be like, should we be talking about this? Is it void of course today? I don't want to spend energy making plans if it's void of course today. But then, like you were saying, we've had experiences where we've talked about something, planned something, or tried to do something, and it's just not come to fruition, and we've looked back and gone, right, that's why there was no energy behind it. I like that it's guilt-free, though. That's, I'm going to keep that in my little toolbox there of, we'll use it then, use it for your nothing moments. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can just today I'm not doing anything, and it's perfect, and I just don't have to, I'm not wasting time, I'm being, that's the thing, it's like I'm using the time for something that will regenerate my body, will get things done, like, some things. I mean, I sometimes do like things that they're not really, the things that they don't seem important enough to put time to sometimes, because we're going to make the big things, so it's like, okay, I'm going to do these little things now, you know what I mean? Just like,
I thought it was really interesting to read about some of the past presidents that have used that course of the moon, or the lack of course of the moon, to make their announcement, because there's not going to be any specific energy behind it or reaction to it. We had a huge discussion about it at home, because we were thinking about, I'm not sure what goes on with the royal family now, but certainly the Queen was renowned for having her own cosmologist and astrologist, and they would advise her every day of colours to wear and specific words to use. And, and you think, well, if they're using it, if billionaires are using it, we are using it, we should be using it too.
Well, someone who said, millionaires don't believe in astrology, billionaires do.
Yes, absolutely. So, and then you have your aha moment, don't you? Like, that's why we don't get taught about it, or told to look up, or educated on how to understand what's going on in the sky and the best energies to use. I also have to admit, I'm on 3. What have I got? We've been doing the planner for 3 years now. I literally found a new section this week.
What's that?
There was a bit right at the end for planning the Mercury cycles in more detail, because it looked. Hang on, let me find a blank.
I love it.
I'll do it in secrets. So because it looked like a diary page, when I've been zooming in and out, I just assumed it was that, and then I was like, oh, hang on a minute. This is it here.
It's a Mercury cycle.
Yeah, because I looked at the front, where you give all the detail on how to work with that cycle and expand and commit to your plans. But I didn't realise that there was a big section.
Yeah.
What we always used was this section. Yeah. This was our monthly get together to review where we were at with everything and make plans. And I have to commend, and this is a theory I've worked to for my whole life, that my mother taught me when she was still alive, which was the power of 3.
Really? Oh,
she used it with everything, and I loved that took the pressure off for us. You don't have to have everything running at once. It's okay to take priorities, and that the planner worked with that. And yes, you can have a general topping, get on top of the garden this month, and there might be millions of tasks underneath that. But it just really helps you to hone in what's important, what's going to work with this season, with this cycle. And take the pressure off of, we've always got to have millions of things going on at once. So we loved this page for doing that planning. And it also, because of how you've sectioned it out, it helped you to see that although you might be going into a new month, you're still in the energy of the plans you set the month before. And again, so important because these dates that we count aren't necessarily in tune with the energy and the numbers that the cosmos is using.
Yeah, it's interesting because I debated whether to skip the months, as regular things, or just to skip it completely, because in a way it's like our calendar is not aligned. It's like, oh, but of course the world works a little bit by month. I mean, the bills get paid, whatever at the end of the month, people get paid at the end. It's like there's so many things that they are by, the month that, so yeah, but it's like, except this year, I have to say that this year and next year is like things are aligning a little bit better. I mean, like this 2025 starts just after the new moon in Capricorn, which is, you know what I mean? That's like a rarity, but anyway, but yeah, it's like, our calendar is not really aligned, but we still are in the cycles that, you could say, oh, well, can I just do it, at the first of the month every month? Of course, you can do it, but your body is not aligned to that monthly calendar. I mean, in fact, the word monthly comes from moon.
Yeah.
Because originally, it was to follow the moon. I understand why a calendar because the moon is it's quite irregular. I mean, to me, it's like it kind of shifts. Like the sun is about one day or two, but the sun always changes. Sign at the same time, but the moon is way more la la. Yeah. She does her own thing, Yeah. So it's it's a bit more unpredictable, but it's fine. I mean, it's kind of interesting how the more you follow the moon, the less attached you are to these like regular months. And you kind of like, oh yeah, the world works in this month, whatever, but I'm still working, and it just feels way more fluid, less forced, It's like, you don't have that. I mean, I remember when like New Year's, like was like this big thing, like, right, I'm going to change my life, on the 1st of January, Now I totally understand why those resolutions never work. It's like it's impossible, that they work, because it's just after in every sense the energy is not right to start new.
Yeah.
It isn't there, So now it's like, yeah, New Year, whatever, it's like, yes, we celebrate, of course, you congratulate everyone, Happy New Year, blah blah blah, Yeah. But it's like, no, where am I in the moon cycle? I mean, where am I?
Yeah, it's sort of a societal, respectful nod. Yes, we're celebrating something, and good luck to us all. But I'll be making my plans with spring when we start everything anew. Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about where we are in Mercury, because I'm excited that we're right at the beginning of a new phase. Particularly because my partner and I have brand new plans going into place. And although this will be going out later into the new year, at the moment we've just had the 12th of the 12th energy. And this weekend on the 15th, Mercury goes direct and into the second phase. So we have been putting down plans and doing all of our intention setting for the next few months with that Mercury energy, and also really feeling it this week. It's been sluggish and really quite an intense overlay of energy. It's felt like sort of uptightness about things that are going on and people in general, as if that we're waiting for something to snap. So it's interesting how, the communication has gone awry. I have literally found this week my mouth making up words in very important sessions and meetings that, I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't even think that. Why has that come out of my mouth? It was just like,
did I just say
that? So when you're aware of it, though, you can sort of excuse yourself a bit. And again, because I meet lots of people 3-4 days a week, or hour after hour, to then have them coming in and saying, oh my God, didn't sleep well, I'm sluggish, my mouth, can't think straight. And you're like, wow, you're seeing the evidence. I'm seeing the evidence of it without me putting any words in anybody's mouth. So where do you sort of feel the most important aspect of taking a step is with that long trajectory of Mercury's journey?
Well, Mercury, as I said, it affects communication, the way you talk, and your mindset basically. And while the moon, you can relate it to how you feel, and that's why around full moon people feel very emotional. Emotions take over, so to speak, and the reason. Well, okay, I'm gonna go back to Mercury, but because we can talk, I like to talk about how these things happen, so that you can actually clear out things that that you need to clear out. But with Mercury, it's related to mindset, to communication, to how you think. So with everything in the energies, there is energies that they are inviting you to take action, but then there is energies that invite you to reflect and to reconsider things. Because it is when you reconsider, when you reflect, when you reassess, that you can actually get things kind of better, and that's how you improve, so to speak.
Yeah.
So Mercury is about that. So if you have a lot of issues during Mercury retrograde, it's not to so that you get annoyed and frustrated and but it is actually to pay attention what is happening here. Why, how am I communicating? What is going on between my mind and my mouth? What is happening with that connection? You know what I mean?
Or disconnection.
Maybe, what is, am I saying, what I mean? Am I speaking from where am I speaking from? What I mean? Yeah. Am I going too fast? You know what I mean? Do I need to slow down? Do I need to write things down? Do I need clarity? You know what I mean? What is it that is happening in that connection? So that is what Mercury retrogrades are for. It's like if we are going too fast mentally, it's like Mercury retrograde is about slowing down. That's why they recommend that you shouldn't sign things, or you shouldn't do anything, make big decisions in that sense, because it's like if you are not because if you're not that, if you are just going too fast and you're not really, you don't actually pay attention to things to see if they are how they are, because retrograde, is, the definition is that it goes backwards, or that it seems like it goes backwards. No planet goes backwards.
No,
it's not like a train. Exactly. It's just that they slow down. So from the Earth perspective, it looks like the planet is going backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the key. It looks like it's going backwards, but it isn't. Mm-hmm. So something might look like it's great, but it isn't.
Okay. Yeah, I love that.
So it's like pay attention to, of course, if you need to sign something, whatever, of course you can't just say, right, I'm clearing my my diet for 3 weeks. And no, it's not about that. It's like pay attention to things, slow down and pay attention. Mentally, slow down and pay attention to things. Mm-hmm. So that's the key of Mercury retrograde, because if you slow down and you pay attention, then you will gain clarity. So when Mercury goes direct, then you know how to move forward. You know what what the obstacles are, you know what the challenges are, and you know as well how to overcome, what to do basically. But if you don't slow down, all you're doing is tripping over, and then the challenges might go away, but you still like, yeah, but I'm not sure what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, now what? Okay, now it's all clear, but should I still? I mean, you're not so sure anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing with Mercury retrograde, which is a bit like when it's the full moon. When you have the full moon,
Mm-hmm.
it happens the same, but with emotion.
Yeah. Okay. So really, would you say that Mercury is calling us to figure out what our blocks are internal world?
Yes, and internally, but more from the mindset perspective.
Yeah.
Rather than your emotional inner world. This is the moon. Yeah. This is what that's the territory of the moon.
Okay. So for me then, I'm thinking from a therapeutic point of view, anybody that I would be working with over a 3-month window, to be aware that their internal struggles might really show up at that retrograde phase, but then we can use that at the direct phase to help them figure out how to either resolve it or change that mental habit, or to work with that so that it's going to reduce the severity of impact.
Absolutely.
Okay, well that's really helpful, because it has that real mental focus, and that detriment to our communication as well.
Yes.
And like you said, these things are always showing up for them to be resolved. The body is always, and the mind is trying to help us, even with its dysfunctional protective habits. They're all there to prevent us continually feeling pain, whether that's physical or emotional. But it's about us being able to be brave and do the internal work to resolve it, rather than expecting out here to change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also from the point of view of therapy, the full moon is such a great time to gain clarity on what it is that you need to work on emotionally, what it is that is not working for you emotionally, because the role of the full moon is to bring things to the surface that you can no longer ignore them. The same as the PMS, when you have PMS, that you are like, it's interesting how when I started to work with moon and I made a point to work through my emotions and how I was feeling emotionally during the full moon, my PMS stopped.
Wow.
Like I terrible PMS. Like really, really bad. And as soon as I started to kind of stop ignoring what was coming up, then PMS, you know what I mean? Like then it was like, yeah, but that's fine. You've dealt with the emotions, because I feel that, well, I don't feel that that's how it is, that our menstrual cycle is not just about to make babies, but it is also a process, a creative process, emotional creative process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And when you've been ignoring your emotions throughout the whole cycle, just before you bleed, not only you let everything go, but emotionally is also an emotional cleansing process. And the PMS is about, like, you've been ignoring us for all this time. Now we're going to speak up. You know what I mean? Now, because now we need to go, You know what I mean? Like, and as a therapist, that emotions, the more when you give them space, is like how they, things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The clue for me is in the title. The word motion is right there. The E for our own internal energy, and the motion, it wants to move, it wants to progress. So, emotions are sort of shouldn't be ignored in the moment, but absolutely expressed with a person of trust or on your own. I had an amazing comment from a friend who was talking about her own cycle years ago, and it really stuck with me and made such a difference, because I used to have terrible PMS as well, and they had not gone to an event that we were at, and I was very surprised they weren't there. And I saw them the next day, and they said, I had my period. And I was like, oh, that sucks, could you not make it? And they said, I didn't want to. I find I can cope with my period as long as I do exactly what I want to do. And I just thought, wow, that's so simple. What a great revelation, and they had just woke up. They didn't feel great. They knew their period was coming, and they were like, I don't want to be at that thing. I'm not doing it. And had a lovely day, and I just thought, yeah, that's exactly what you're describing. We ignore things, we suppress things, and then even sometimes on the day that the menstrual cycle arrives, we're like, no, must go to work. And struggle through it, and then we wonder why when we get time off that we're just sat there at the weekend in vacant mode, like, have I overdone it this week? I'm in burnout. So it is so important, and I hadn't really connected that if you're resolving your emotions, if you go along, that cycle could be less severe. You mentioned that you like to work with crystals.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see any content going into the planner that might be around the crystal connections and how people can use them in seasons or anything like that?
I have thought about it, but I haven't quite put it there because I don't know, I just haven't been quite called to do. Yeah. To do. How do I put it? Do I just, I feel that if I was to do it, it would be more maybe as part of the illustration. I mean, this year I put about the numerology of the month, for example. So maybe it could be something around, on that part, just as a, just to add to that. Because as much as I like the crystals, and they have helped me to heal physically. I also am aware that we are taking a lot of crystals from the earth.
Yeah.
So I am also aware that, it's a great thing, they're great, and it's great to work with the energy. But I also, I don't know, I'm more interested in that people connecting with themselves. Ultimately, it's not, it's the body that does the healing. The crystals can help to, they can bring the energy, but it is your own body that has the capacity to heal. And, I think it's sometimes, I did use, specifically the crystals when I broke my wrist a few years ago, and I used them instead of painkillers.
Yeah, amazing.
So that was that was a very particular, that was like, I tried my best, but I'm going to put my crystals now, so, I can, and I could feel it. It had the same effect as a painkiller. But I've been trying to go back to the self-healing, because I really think that what it's really helped us as humanity is to really connect with our inner powers and our inner gifts.
Yeah.
The plant, of course, we can work with the earth and can work with crystals and all that stuff. But ultimately, my goal is that people connect to their power, to their magic, or whatever they want to call it, and to realize what they are capable of.
Absolutely.
That it's not a one-hit wonder, but that, with work and, it can be extremely rewarding and just to realize how how powerful we are, as much as limited as we are limited. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, like we're capable of amazing things as we are also, capable of like, have I just done that? Did I just say that? Did I just do that? Oh, well, I could have done better,
And that's our human condition, isn't it? We actually make a lot of mistakes, but boy, do we have some profound learning from them as well. And I agree with you. I think more than anything, it's important that people start to reconnect with themselves and understand that you can actually change how you traverse through life's challenges and all of this external chaos if in here you have your self-belief and your magic and your beauty, and that is unwaverable when you've connected with that, and your sense of unique purpose here, regardless of what it is. It doesn't matter if you are in love with slicing tomatoes, being a mother, or having a career. It's if that's nurturing you and making you feel all powerful, that's your calling. And also, I think your calling can change. I've certainly, when I was young, everybody told me I had so much potential and what are you going to do? And it's going to be amazing. And I was overwhelmed by that. I was just like, and I can remember saying to a parent at one point, I can see all of these roads. I can see all of these choices. And I have no idea how to make the choice. So I did what everyone does. I fell into what just appeared in front of me, and it took me 20 years to suddenly hear my calling and go, this is what people meant. When you're doing it from that point of passion and love, and something's really driving you and you can't take it out of your sights. And I think that working with people to get into planning, but from the level that you've put in your planner with the cosmos and the beauty of understanding your own cycles and your own magic, I think that can go a really long way in helping people really find that creative flow and really do it in a way that respects. We're human beings, not doings. You need to have a rest every now and again. You need to reflect. You absolutely need to learn to praise yourself and reward yourself. And every now and again, go and dance in the sun and lay under the moon.
Absolutely. Oh, you put it so beautifully. Oh, this is, yeah, totally. And I feel that I really connect with what you just said, the story that you've shared, because also and you made a point of the creative thing, because you can create anything. Mm-hmm. You can create a life, you can create another human, you can create a relationship, you can create a path, you can create a career. Yeah. It's like it's a creative process, and just like nature, and and we are, of course, influenced by all the stars. And I mean, no one really goes sunbathing in the middle of the winter, right? Yeah. What would you do that, right? Or no one really tries to go skiing in the middle of the summer, right? I mean, why would you do that? So just because there is other energies that we don't see so obviously, does not mean that we are not, under the influence of them. And exactly. And the thing is that I had what people would call like external success, in my, photographic career. But I remember that I felt so unsuccessful inside.
Yeah.
It was like on paper, my life looked great. On paper it was like, yeah, I've made it, But inside, I was numbing my emotions. I was completely disconnected. I was, it was just I did not feel successful at all. And so I had to really find what it actually means success, what it means to made it or whatever, or what is it important to live for. And it does not mean that like, okay, so now I'm not going to do anything, because, well, some people that might be their choice. Mm-hmm. In my case, I like to create things, and I always been aware of the importance of feelings, because I was I was good at, at school, and I was a good student, but emotionally, I always felt like there was something not, that was, as I said, I was like, yeah, but what choice do I make, or how do I go about it, and I did find my way around, sort of like mental health issues and stuff like that. But, and it made me realize how important, this is, but also how capable we are to overcome them, if you set the intention to do that. I really, one of the things that it worries me nowadays is that this idea that having a mental health issue is for life.
Yeah.
And how almost like you cannot recover, or you can, it's like, that's it, you are kind of somehow bit damaged, or something, and from my experience, this is not the case, because I had suffered depression and I had suffered anxiety attacks when I was a teenager. I no longer suffer any of that, and that was not because I took a lot of pills, that's because I did the work,
Yeah.
So I think with right tools, with therapy, planning, notebooks, and all this, and believing in yourself, I think it's totally possible to.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up as well, because I think there are quite a number of messages out there that literally are not true. And when you look at mental health or the mind or how we think about ourselves or cognitive function, whatever way you want to frame it, when you look at that with a scientific research mind of curious as to what we know works, you can change brain function, you can change habit. The mind is so powerful that I think it's why it was separated from health, mental health and physical health. I think actually, one, they go together, and two, the mind is first, all powerful. If we believe something, we will make it happen. If we believe we don't want something to happen, it won't happen. So, the powers that think they should be, I think, have a bit of a conspiracy against, let's give them these mind worms to prevent progress, to inhibit taking control, being really powerfully responsible. And then you can kick all sorts of health conditions out of the park because you mentally are not accepting that that's going to hold you back and that you can't recover from that. So you've hit on a real soapbox of mine. I think when you understand that the brain functions to protect us, it is the most powerful data analysis, memory bank, electrical connecting force that we have, but it's not always running sums the way that would be helpful. So it will bring stuff up and trigger us and heighten us that it thinks it's protecting us or getting us ready for a perceived risk. All of that is a function of thinking in the past. We're running memory. We're being cautious. We're being hypervigilant because of the past. So once we start to realize, oh, there's my mind just thinking about the past, trying to protect me, I'm going to think about the future. And then boom, we're back to how you can use the planner to help yourself with that. Your consciousness follows your energetic awareness. So if you fill your attention channel with the things you do want to happen, with the experiences that you feel good about, not only are you actually thinking rather than remembering, you're getting your brain to release your natural chemicals because you feel good about dreaming up your desire and thinking about your outcome. You're going to that point again of in the future. It is done. I have it. I've got it. I can feel it. I'm going to just wander around my day in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And that, that gives you mental resilience because, happens, life happens, but you're going to come to that catastrophe or crisis from a place of your own strength, your own belief. So you will be capable of bouncing back. But if you go into the structure of the societal norms way of looking at your mental health, oh, I have a problem for life and I've always got to deal and cope, and then you're going to hit that crisis from feeling like you're already at a deficit. And that's not how this beautiful vessel and this amazing processor works. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that's exactly spot on. And I mean, it opens your brain to possibilities when you think that way. And there's just an anecdote that I was learning to play guitar for a while, and I was not good at it. I just couldn't. I was like, in my head, I was like, I'm not doing it. And then I realized that I had started to learn guitar, thinking that I could not really play guitar. That's why I had to learn. And then that I was not really good at guitar. I couldn't really do this. And then one day I thought, I'm going to say myself something completely different. And I started to say myself, you can play guitar. You can do this. You can play guitar. You can do this. And it was almost automatic that suddenly my fingers find the you know what I mean? I mean, it's not that I didn't intend to become like the greatest. That was not my goal. I just wanted the experience of knowing how to play, just the experience. So there was no major thing, but it was amazing how as soon as I started to think that way, my fingers, it was suddenly being a new set of instructions, and everywhere, like, ta-da, and I was like, and why you haven't done this before? Of course, they had to wait for the instructions from the brain to say, you can do this. Okay, let's figure out how to do it then, you know what I mean? Rather than while we weren't trying, it just felt like,
Yeah. That's amazing. I love that, Esther. And it reminds me, my partner did a similar thing, was gifted a piano, hadn't ever played piano, was coming from that perspective of, I'm going to need to get lessons and I don't know how to play it. And then just one night thought, no, I'm gonna tell myself something different, and went to sleep pre-programming that she would wake up being able to play the piano, and did. And she plays the piano like classically. And again, like you're saying, no big, like, she's not Mozart or Beethoven. She's not, and not even reading music, but just authentically sits and flows, and this just lovely stuff comes out of her fingertips, and we were all like, wow, how long have you had the piano? Oh, 3 days,
And that was that. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. So I can't remember where I was hearing that, but they made this study with some athletes, some training and stuff, and they trained, like, they separated into groups. One, they trained physically only. Mm-hmm. The other one trained mentally only. Mm-hmm. So, and then by the end, the results were actually very, very similar.
Wow.
Between those who just train physically and those who just train mentally.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, we use techniques in therapy for dealing with trauma called imagined exposure, where I will work with somebody to do like a meditative place, so that they're in those deep, relaxed theta brainwave states. And we can talk to the subconscious about what happens and rewrite that memory. And it's not that the existing one doesn't go away, but there's also another one there of them doing it how they wanted or saying what they wanted. And the brain doesn't understand the difference between the things it can see coming in and the things it can see that we create. So then it has two pieces of data. The first time that we didn't get it right, the second time that we did it differently. And again, that all goes into that memory bank that helps weigh up the severity of, should I be really nervous? Have I done this before? Oh yeah, we did it then and it was great, even though that was imagined. So
it's amazing. It's really, I mean, in a way, you can almost think of it as a game.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like I love the chaos magic tenet, which just says nothing is real, everything is permitted.
I love that. Yeah, I really love that. And then I think, though, we do have to remember that all of that is projection. Like I was saying about the brain function, it's always running on past data. It's predicting the future, but it's not always with us in the present moment. The present moment's where our heart is at. So if you want to ground in, you want to really feel the benefit of your plans or your time off, you need to sit with your heart, you need to be in the moment, you need to be breathing well and just loving the experience of right here, right now, when everything is going good.
Definitely. I love how you put it. Oh, you're such a Libra. I can see the Libra and Sagittarius energy,
The only other thing I just wanted to talk to you about, just because for me it fits in with the planetary energies, and this is some information that came to me through a different doctor who runs a podcast in America called Alpha Vedic. He's Dr. Berlando. Amazing guy. Started off in physical health and chiropody, and then has just rejected the medical health model and gone on to be an absolute legend in alternative health, and now runs a farm where they create their own tinctures and spagyric links, and he's got all these crazy tips for doing magnetic vibrational healing. Absolutely brilliant. I would recommend giving them a listen. But
totally.
Yeah, I
loved it.
My radar that I already understood that the planets or the wandering stars have the vibrational quality, and we can assimilate harmonics and frequency and colours to each one. So I understood that because I understand how light and vibration works. But also within that is a different mineral.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying that we all are born with a deficiency in some minerals because we receive them in vitro when we're being carried. When mum's pregnant with us, we receive them through the mother, through the cosmic energies of those 9 months. So therefore, when we come out of the womb, you're going to have the 3 months that you don't receive them. You're receiving them direct, but you haven't had them in the same life force way as what you do in the womb. So therefore, we're all needing to understand that we need certain minerals to really be aware of any vulnerabilities. And I looked mine up based on when I was born. And the main thing it said to me my vulnerability was around calcium and teeth and bone. And absolutely that's what I've had when I was young. Had real issues with the growth of my teeth and the strength of my teeth, and I've broken bones when I was in sports. So I just thought that's really fascinating as well, that there's a connection there with what Mercury and Moon's key mineral aspects are as well. Just give us a moment. I wrote them down. So Mercury being 141 in frequency, and it's potassium and sulfate, and the moon is potassium chloride.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I just thought that's another element of interest for me, because, we're electrical beings. Without those electrolytes, without that ability to receive the messages from the cosmos, then again, we could be unaware we're creating a deficiency in our connection. Fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, very fascinating. I mean, I wonder, because obviously, we're all sensitive to these energies, but obviously some people are more sensitive. I think especially creative people are more sensitive to the moon, and just to the general energies. And I wonder, that like there should be a correlation. That's a very interesting topic. I don't know much about it, but now you make me really curious. Now, like, oh, I need to find out more about
it. I certainly had an experience once I started being aware of how to supplement the minerals that I missed in the womb. My mental acuity felt like it changed. Also my electrical frequency sensitivity. So sometimes I'm a bit like, oh, there's a lot of Wi-Fi in here, I'm picking it up. But yeah, I thought that was just another layer of what we receive and how we have to be able to receive it. Yeah. That nutrition as well, isn't it? The foods. I wonder if there's any correlation with the types of seasonal food and what minerals are in those for boosting the messages we're receiving. So here I'm giving you a school of research now, Esther.
Yeah, totally. I love that. But I mean, that's the thing, is seasonal food is like, it's something that your body needs at that time, of the year for a reason. So yeah, this is it's just really, really interesting how, it's amazing what a perfect system nature is.
Yes.
And how everything is such a big symphony, like how things work up there, how things work down here. Yeah. It's just such, if you try to approach it from a logical perspective, it makes no sense. But you know what I mean, if you tune into the truth of it, it makes so much sense, because the basis of it is a paradox. There's a big paradox in the way life works. I love that logic had to come up with this idea of paradox. Yes. Oh, it's not illogical; it's a paradox. We can't be wrong. Logic can't be wrong.
But again, you're like, yeah, that's your mental construct. I'm just going to go with my heart on this.
Exactly. Exactly.
Fantastic.
It's just so funny that they're finding like a brain in our heart and a brain in our gut.
Yes.
That we actually have 3 brains.
Absolutely. I think it's really important for people to understand what we really know about the model of the body now, that we can see it in different ways. And, I hopefully help some people shift from this belief that the heart is just a pump, and that no, it is electrolyzing you. It is creating your magnetic field around about you. There is more communication from the heart to the brain than the other way around. We have these neurons around different organs, even our diaphragm, which I think is really key to know, because when we go and breathe in like a sharp breath through the mouth, the diaphragm will tell the brain, I didn't get any of that air. So, and the brain...
Don't cheat me.
that was not for me. That was not a deep breath. Yeah,
what about me?
Out now. So you can imagine when we're breathing from up here in panic or running, like the diaphragm's like, hello, like, I would like some here. If you want to chill out, you need to breathe deeper, and all of that signaling, maybe not in my voice with the narrative, but that's what's going on. And, if you don't understand that your breathing is paramount to your physiological state, then again, you're just sort of fighting yourself with the way this vessel works. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing, is like, it's amazing how the self-destructive capacity that we humans have. We can make decisions that they are totally against our best interest and our well-being. And it's like, if you're not working with your body, then whatever you do will never feel enough.
Absolutely.
Because it's like you are not in yourself. You are constantly running around and like a headless chicken,
Well, it comes back to what you were saying about your own story. You know, externally everything can be fine, but if you're running towards that and you're doing it because you should do or you ought to, or that's the construct you've fallen into, that's not your internal happiness. At some point, you sit down and realise, I am unhappy. So, the internal world first. You know, if you really want to soar at life, you have to first love yourself.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
Definitely.
And just to wrap up, if that's all right with you.
Yes.
So I just want to finish that. When this goes out in the new year, I'll be launching my membership section of my new website, and I will be giving away a couple of planners to people that join up on that week. I think I'm going to do it over the sort of Valentine's week, so I can really bring in the emphasis of self-love and how to plan for the things that you really desire and putting self first. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure, Esther, hearing more and getting to know you. I love what you do. I have a great energy from you as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I mean, this has been absolutely fantastic. It's been really, really great to see you, in this online platform. I'm very excited about this platform that you're launching and the community. I love your website. I love what you're doing. So it's my absolute pleasure that you are using Cosmo-planner. It's such a great reward, for because I want to help people too, So it's really wonderful that that this is happening, and it's been absolutely just absolute pleasure talking to you. And I just same here. It's just got such a. I want to hug you. I'm very huggy, So
Me too.
I'll
hug my screen in a minute. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did taking part in it. Don't forget, one more time, if you would like to be in with a chance to take away a free Cosmo-planner, then join the TCB community on my website at thecounsellorblue.com. You can also find the Cosmo-planner in my affiliate shop on there, or you can go direct to Ester's website, which is cosmo-planner.com. The draw will end at midnight on the 14th of Feb. So show yourself just how much you love yourself and that self-care is important to you, and pick up a Cosmo-planner. It's been wonderful having you with us on this first journey. I hope that you've enjoyed being part of the cosmic being. Thank you so much. High vibrations, and have a great day.